Good evening, Warriors. Welcome into another edition of the Summer R&R Sports Report. That's a horrible name. Let's try that again. The summer edition of the R&R Sports Report. My name is Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Mr. Robert Hagan. Robert, what's up, man?
Yeah, you want the 100% honest truth?
Sure.
I'm still playing catch up and recoup from my 30-year class reunion this last week. That started on Thursday, and we kind of ended Sunday morning early, Sunday way early.
Let's I'll be honest here. I thought you were going to say you were recovering from another beatdown on the golf course that I gave
Oh,
you last week. We will not be golfing this week because it is too damn hot. I
I
looked at the temperatures and went, nah, I'm good.
yeah, and I'm supposed to have league tomorrow night, so I don't know how that's going to play out.
Oof,
That'll be interesting.
it looks horrible out there. Horrible. The fact that we are less than a month away from not having a summer show anymore and just being back to normal is crazy to me.
Hmm.
We were just kind of talking about that before the show got going. I got an email from Alicia about the fall sports press conference that they will have with volleyball and golf and cross country, and that's already coming up soon. Robert Taylor wants to know what we all consider hot. We live in the northern part of Idaho, so anything in three digits is hot.
I just
Period.
looked. I just looked, and right here in the Clarkston Heights, it says 103 degrees. So that's where I'm at, But it's taken us this long to get here because this time last year we were in like 115s
Yeah,
at
it
this
was
time
hotter
last year.
last year than this year. Last year it was just do not go outside. This year, and you can deal with it a little bit, and it's still one of those get as much done as you can before noon, and then hide away. Getting as much rain as we did to start the summer really really helped. But yeah, just looking at the forecast, we're hitting over 105 where I live for another week or so. Those
Yeah,
are
it's
rookie numbers. We don't live in California. I did not sign up for hot weather. I signed up for confused weather where
it,
it's 100 degrees at 2 and then 20 degrees at 8.
the only thing that is a plus that's totally different, and that's one thing I do not miss from when my time in Louisiana was the 90 plus degrees and 80 to 90% to 100% humidity. That
Oh,
up here we're we might get 20 to 30, and
yeah,
then
we stay pretty dry heat. The humidity stuff I can't deal with. I can't do it. I just going down to Texas, what, 6, 7, 8 years ago now.
yeah.
That was enough for me. Um, that's okay. We got a very very fun show though. As again, it's the summertime. It's baseball season. Nothing else is going on. The Tour de France is over. WNBA is getting near their postseason, but again, neither of us are really big basketball fans. Doesn't matter which league. We just don't really watch a ton of it. So it's baseball for us.
Hmm.
But football's getting close. Training camps are all opened up. I just have to ask you really quick. What do you thought of Aaron Rodgers today?
Seeing the memes fly out within an hour after had showed up, it was priceless. It just What else can we expect from Aaron Rodgers if
Mhm.
he's coming in looking like that?
At least Aaron Rodgers has fun with it. Like everyone kind of makes fun of his longer hair and stuff, and he shows up and goofs around with it. So we'll talk about some NFL stuff. We will bring back Randy's Believe It or Not as we continue working through our off-season NFL content before we really get into our predictions and projections for the NFL and college football seasons. We're going to talk about some of our favorites for the college football championship. And we'll do that later on today. Our sports related draft. Robert, you were the person to pick this week. Go ahead and reveal it to the people.
I saw two pictures, and I thought, there we go. That has to be it. I saw an article on some soccer, and then I finally, you and I talked about it on the show last week when we talked about the captain. The captain has come out and started watching it,
Mm-hmm.
and I told you and I revealed to you I still had it recorded on my DVR and never had watched it. I finally started watching The Last Dance, so some things boiled with that, and I thought, nah, there's a topic here. So it is going to be the most iconic pictures in sports history. So think
which
about that.
is very, very difficult.
Oh, it is
It
very.
was it was a lot of fun to go through a bunch of pictures and kind of see which sites thought what was iconic, and then you would just see pictures you hadn't seen before, and it was a lot of fun.
So let me tell you this one, and this one being said, I'm going to throw out a little spoiler. Pete
I don't know if
Rose,
she's watching.
Pete Rose does not make the list with his slide.
Was he supposed to?
Well, that's one of the most iconic pictures of him sliding into second base. Yeah, I know. That was before your time. I was still
I
a
think
baby
all of
then.
my pictures were before my time. Hold on.
I think you are
Yeah,
right.
all of my pictures are before my time.
So, but that's one that doesn't get it. Another one that doesn't make our list. Dwight Clark's catch from San Francisco in the
Yep.
Super Bowl.
Mhm.
That doesn't make the list. So
It was
it'll be interesting.
contemplated on my end. Pete Rose is a WWE Hall
Yes.
of Famer. I agree with Robert Taylor.
He should be a regular Hall of Famer too.
Another slide. I don't know if any slides made our list. Well, maybe. I think I might know where Eric's going with this. So hold on. We will get to that. Speaking of the WWE, there was big news there with Vince McMahon finally stepping down weeks after he should have, after all the allegations came out. We'll talk about that. We will do our preview of SummerSlam, but don't worry if you're not a wrestling fan. We always put that near the end of the show. So you don't have to like sit through and listen to us talk about fake sports entertainment when you can't handle it.
I
It's
did
at
tell
the end
you,
of the show.
I did tell you I did get my tickets for the Spokane show.
I am jealous. I keep looking, but with Lambeau coming up, that wasn't going to happen. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I love if you have friends out there that are not wrestling fans. I have said this for years. Take them to a house show. Do not take them to a televised event where you have all the breaks and all the commercial breaks, and 80% of it is just them talking to set up pay-per-views and stuff. Take them to a house show and watch how the wrestlers really interact with a crowd when they don't have to worry about a hard cam.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm excited about. So where we are sitting, if you look at it, and I will send you the map later, Randy, but where we're sitting is where we can look right at the stage. We're over when you and I have been to the Spokane Arena many times for Spokane Arena football and all that. We are right over one of the doorways going back into the backs, and we are the very front row looking towards the entrance stage. So we've got a great seat. Nice. 2 tickets for Denise and I, $50.
That was not bad. It was not bad.
For a house show.
Again, Addie has kind of gotten into wrestling a little bit with the video game. She likes to mash the buttons. Her favorite character is Charlotte Flair because she's the queen, and she likes Seth Rollins because his entrance is hilarious. Chase's new wrestler, her favorite wrestler, is Elias because his entrance takes 17 hours on that video game, and he finds it hilarious to make us wait. So yeah, we thought about it as far as taking the kids to their first event, and maybe next year we will see. Let's get into some baseball though, as there's a lot going on. We'll look at the scoreboard first. Bottom of the 8th inning, Marlins over the Reds 2-1. Nobody cares about that game, but they do care about the Rays right now over the Orioles 3-2 in the top of the 8th inning. We know Eric's here. Not seen Denny in the last week or two. He's been busy over the summer.
Megan got congratulations to Megan. Megan she's been listening. She got married this last weekend, so congratulations. Megan got married, so Denny now has a son-in-law, so congratulations to them. So
yeah, he's been very, very busy. Braves over the Phillies 5-1 in the 7th. Cardinals and Blue Jays are tied at 3 in the 6th. Guardians all over the Red Sox 7-2 in the 5th. Can't wait to go talk to Taryn at the Tribune about that result. Mets are beating the Yankees 5-3. That one in the bottom of the 5th inning. That's been an interesting game so far, to say the least. Padres over the Tigers 3-0 in the 7th. Angels over the Royals 1-0 in the 5th. Brewers 4-3 over the Twins in the 3rd. Scoreless in Colorado between the White Sox and Rockies in the 2nd inning. And the Cubs have already beaten the Pirates 4-2 in the early day game that we had. We have 4 games yet to start. Astros and Athletics, Giants and Diamondbacks, Nationals and Dodgers, and Rangers and Mariners. And I have to ask you, as a Mariners fan, how great was it to gain a game on Houston while they're playing Oakland of all teams?
How bad was it that your team couldn't take care of business last week and taken a couple of them? That's where I want to
Hey,
go
hey,
with
hey,
it.
hey, we lost 2 times. How many times did you lose to Houston?
All three.
There you go.
So
We did not have a good time.
No, neither one of us did over those couple of games, and that's the tough thing. But to see Houston fall there was a little shocking last night. So uh, it'll be interesting to see where this team goes over the next couple of weeks. If they do anything to bolster up their lineup, I think Seattle will. But I think the bigger question is Houston going to do anything small
They
to
might
their
do
lineups?
something big.
I,
The way
and that
Houston is,
leaves
they always sneak in and take somebody you don't expect. We will get into that. We are going to go through some of the trade targets out there and predict where they are going to land, as we are, a week away? 1 week exactly from the MLB trade deadline. It has been dead quiet so far, but a couple of Cubs gave each other a giant hug after their game today, since they will not be at home after today. So we will see how things go. But right now, let's look at the news. Madison Bumgarner called Victor Robles a clown after he admired a home run that he hit off Bumgarner. So Robles showed up and wore a clown nose on the bench. This just in, Victor Robles is my new favorite MLB player that's not on the Yankees.
I missed that one, so I didn't see any of that one over this last few days. So this is news to me, hearing that come from you.
Yeah, look it up. It's fantastic. Madison Bumgarner is the biggest clown in all of baseball. The dude takes it way too seriously. It's a game, dude. Calm down. Dallas Keuchel signs with the Texas Rangers to a minor league deal. This is his 3rd team of the year. He already was with the White Sox and the Diamondbacks. It did not work out at all. Will he stick with Texas?
Will he stick anywhere? That's the thing. He just his numbers have not been good over the last couple of years, and now 3rd team. I don't see him getting out of the minor leagues until maybe, if first September, when lineups expand. That might be the only place. He's got to find something down there in minor league, whether it's working on one of his pitches or what. It's got to be something. Fundamentals has got to be the main thing for him to get fixed. I mean,
we see this with pitchers all the time, where they have fantastic stuff and then they hit an age and everything kind of falls off the map. Some of them are able to retool and extend their career. Some just can't find it. We'll see how it is with Dallas Keuchel. Texas Rangers are one of those teams that, if you ask their fan base, they might feel like they are part of the wild card conversation. But outside of that fan base, I don't think any of us consider them wild card contenders right now. But if somebody like Dallas Keuchel can get hot, and they made some fantastic moves in the offseason, if all of them can start clicking, Texas could be a dangerous team come September.
You look at Keuchel's numbers, and I just pulled them up just for the year so far. 2-7 on the year. He's sitting at an 8.53 ERA in 12 games. And so, and just right at 50 innings pitched. So, which tells me, he's either tipping, he's got to work on something. Somebody is just crushing the ball against him.
Some injury news that is never fun to talk about. Yankees have been pretty lucky as far as injuries go. So having Giancarlo Stanton hit the IL still sucks, but Yankees have been pretty lucky. He is out with Achilles tendonitis. That's probably 3 to 4 weeks is what they're predicting. You never know with Stanton. Luckily for the Yankees, they have a big lead, so I'm not stressing at the moment, but it kind of just shows that the Yankees are going to trade for an outfielder here in the next week. Julio Rodriguez back in the lineup finally tonight after hitting too many home runs in the home run derby, apparently.
That's the only thing I can think of. I mean, you missed 4 nights and going up against a ball club that we really needed him in there. And it's hard saying that with being a rookie, but when you get into a lineup and you become a fixture, it just it doesn't help, especially going against the number one team in your division, and you need big wins. From this, and could we see maybe a change? I know there's been a lot of different people that have come out injuries after home run derby. Do we see home run derby
The only way
change
you can
anything
change a
again?
home run derby where somebody might not injure themselves or wear themselves out is not do it. There's no change where you're not swinging the bat as hard as you can in a short amount of time to try to get as many balls over the fence. I mean, you can go back to the out format, but who knows how many times you're swinging the bat then? At least with a timed setup, you're limited to how many swings you're even able to get off. I mean, it's a little different because you're supposed to wait for the ball to land before you swing again, and nobody follows that rule. Like
Even with the umpire standing there.
the moment that ball gets behind the pitcher is ready to go again. It was like trying to be a cameraman for the home run derby is impossible because you're trying to track 4 balls at the same time. Jacob deGrom is slated for another simulated start. He was hoping to be back already, but now it's looking like he will not make his return until August. Bad Tampa Bay news is Kevin Kiermaier and Mike Zunino, who'd already been out, have now been ruled out for the entire season. Kiermaier was dealing with a hip issue. Zunino is going to need an operation to treat thoracic outlet syndrome, which is very, very sad to hear there. Will Tampa Bay now make a move for a catcher? We'll talk about that in a little bit. And then finally, Drew Jones, who was the number 2 pick for the Arizona Diamondbacks. First time swinging for his new team, just in batting practice. Injures his shoulder, could miss the rest of the year. He did sign a $8 million or a contract with an $8 million signing bonus, so he's doing just fine. One of those things that we talked about the MLB draft when it happened, and it was like all these names you're not going to see on major league teams for years to come. Now Drew is starting to look like might be an extra year until he finally makes the big leagues.
Yeah, especially how much Arizona was looking forward to this kid making the ball club here right away and showing some stuff. But first swing, that's the rough part. Very first swing, and you're totally out of it.
Was it the first swing? I just knew it was the first thing of batting practice.
That what I had read, it was the first swing that he had made. So
maybe he was injured already and was hiding it, and then he couldn't do it after the first. Either way, it absolutely sucks. Let's move on to our power rankings, and mine completely flipped, so I'll let you go first.
Really, I hadn't changed a bunch. I still have the New York Yankees sitting up there at number 1. I don't see a huge change there, but what else can you keep saying about the Houston Astros? They just keep plugging away. They took 2 from you, took 3 from us in Seattle. Hopefully we get those 3 back this weekend, as we're back down there to play this weekend. So it'll be a little interesting. So I do move them up to the number 2 spot. I move Los Angeles down to the 3, and it's the same. Who's having a better week? Is it the Mets or is it the Braves? So I went with the Braves and then the Mets. Mets have got a big week this week, dealing with the Subway Series right now.
We'll get to the new schedule format. Eric sent me the new schedule format as we were getting ready to go live, and I had to add it to our notes. So I'll get your thoughts on it. I'd seen something about this before, but now it is official. So we'll talk about that here in a second, Eric. For me, my top 5, like you said, with the Mets and Atlanta, you can flip-flop there. But again, last week or right before the All-Star break, the Mets beat the Braves in that series. So until they meet again, I will have the Mets just ahead of the Braves. They are just kind of stuck in 4-5. I'm going to have the New York Yankees, as the Yankee fan, drop all the way to number 3 here because they got swept by Houston. Houston has proven that they just have the Yankees number. It drives me absolutely nuts. It makes me very worried come October if those 2 teams meet in the ALCS. but the Yankees just cannot figure out Houston's pitching. Right, the Yankees against Houston this year batted like 130. It was abysmal. So I'm going to have them 3, and I'm going to have Houston number 2, as I do think they right now are the best team in the American League. But what the Dodgers are doing right now, I want to say they've won 16 of the last 18 games that they've played. They just swept the Giants in a big series, which continues to extend their lead. I think they are by far the front runners in the National League to go to the World Series, while the Astros and Yankees are going to battle it out possibly for the American League representation. So I think right now the Dodgers are the hottest team and the best team. So I have them at number 1. My bottom 3, it's the Nationals 30th, the A's 29th, and then just flip a coin or roll a 6-sided die or something. There's a bunch of garbage teams. This week I'm going to put Detroit in the number 28 spot.
I did no change from mine. I'm leaving the A's in the bottom spot, the Nationals and the Reds at 28. And I have to tell you this, last night was the first night I had ever watched Moneyball, and I know you had even brought that up with our movie draft. I finally sat and watched it for the very first time.
Thoughts on Moneyball? Let's get a quick Moneyball movie review from Robert Hagen.
I loved it with the understanding now behind it and watching how things were changing with the whole stat thing. And you looked at how stats were being introduced to the players and how they bought into it. I kind of liked it, being a numbers person and person that goes and looks at data all the time for work and that I'm constantly looking for that. So it kind of was kind of cool for me, but I'm also a Brad Pitt fan too. And so
would you put it in your top 3 sports movies?
No, still wouldn't be in my top 3.
I watched
maybe top 10.
I was brought in heart cookies.
Oh, well.
I also watched a sport movie for the first time. It will not end up in my top 3 either. It was better than I was expecting, but it's that Sean Payton movie that I'm blanking on the actor's name. Anybody out there, help me out, please. It's an Adam Sandler product, but it's Kevin.
Home Team.
Yeah, who is that?
That's with
Kevin James. Sorry,
Kevin James.
Kevin James playing Sean Payton and going over Sean Payton coaching his son's high school team while he was suspended that year with the Saints. It starts out interesting, going through real life stuff. It's cute. It's nowhere near my top 3, but for a night, it's on Netflix. Go watch it. I enjoyed it.
I think my wife watched it. I'm gonna have to ask her. I think it was one of the movies that she watched here not too long ago. So
I thought Haley couldn't think of it either. Kevin James. All right, let's real quickly get on Eric's topic because it was very interesting. And we may have talked about this before as it was a proposal, but now it's a thing. Starting next year, all 30 teams are going to play every other team. It's called the MLB's balanced schedule. So it's no longer American League just playing a couple teams in the National League and you're playing half of your games against a division and everything. So here you go. From now on, starting next year, every team will play 56 games in their division. So that's 14 teams against every division rival. It used to be like 18 or something. You're going to play 60 games against the rest of your league, whether it's the American League or National League. So you're playing 10 games against every other opponent in your league, which leaves 46 games against the interleague league. 3 games apiece versus the 14 teams in the other league, and then 4 games versus your quote-unquote natural rivals. So obviously, Yankees will play the Mets. The Mariners will probably play the Padres, I guess, is your quote-unquote natural rival. We'll get Dodgers and Angels, maybe. Giants and A's are a thing. What is it? Red Sox and National. There's some weird rivals as far as American League, National League. But what do you think now that the Mariners are going to play every team in the National League every year?
I love it. I've always been one of those ones that I want to see everybody face everybody. And And it kind of goes to, and this might sound a little funny, but it goes to the things I'm learning watching AFL. And maybe that's just me. AFL, your team plays everybody at least once,
Mhm.
and that I love the idea of that. Yeah. So now, 30 teams, you are facing 29 as balanced as possibly you can get there.
But
So
now
I
how
like the
weird
idea of
is
that.
the schedule going to get when they start adding teams? Because we keep hearing rumors that they want to hit 32 within the next, what, 6 years or so.
Right. And I think the bad part is for some of those people is how is it going to look for traveling? And it was brought up, and I was watching something on, I want to say it was on MLB Central, and they were talking about the Seattle Mariners and being that team kind of the same as um, Toronto
Excuse me.
and Tampa Bay, is how many of these guys have to travel so far to catch these games. How is that going to make things, even better? I see extended road trips. I see
Yeah.
not longer. We right now we're talking 2 road trips. I think some of these are a week to 10-day road trips. I think it's going to turn out being somewhat smarter to do. Maybe
Mhm.
a 3-week trip. I
Yeah.
understand that takes
Well,
away from your bottom line as an owner to make money, but as far as planning and doing
I
easier on the body of
I don't
these
think it's going
players.
to be to take the bottom line away from the owners because you're still going to have 81 games at home. It's just the way they set it up. I think I miss the days when it was that old couple that was setting up the schedule all the
Mhm.
time and it had this like human feel to the schedule. Now it's just all computer generized and it's just it's boring and you get these weird games to end the year just because that's what the computer decided was best. But the computer is going to set it up where for a Seattle, which I mean, Seattle always is going to get the back end of these
Mhm.
schedules and have to travel the most because there's no team around them. And every game they travel to, they're
Mhm.
traveling more than most teams. So for them now, I mean, they were talking about it when they had Houston at home. Where it's like, well, usually we get Houston and Texas back to back on the road. Now they get Houston and Texas back to back at home. So it'd be that same way. It's like, all right, we'll go play the Florida teams for a week and a half, and we'll just hit that area. Some of the teams, that's the only time you'll be down there. Some of them, it'll be one of 2 trips, and you just kind of make things work. And then you got to think if we do expand to 32 teams or teams move around, Portland's probably getting a team, maybe Vancouver, so maybe you can get a team, maybe 2 closer
Mhm.
to the Seattle area. I'm hearing a lot of San Antonio as far as another MLB squad. So, I mean, Seattle's always going to have it rough as far as travel goes, but they'll figure it out. And traveling is not as hard now than it used to be.
No, no, we're close to
So
what it
it
used to
makes
be.
sense. Let's get to our players of the week, and mine was easy. I'm going to go Homer, and he hit another home run today. He's on pace for 17,000 home runs in my eyes. But Aaron Judge, 9 of 19 on the week, 4 home runs, 2 doubles, 11 RBI. The man has come out of the All-Star break red hot.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one. I went a little
Oh, God,
different.
the Yankees put in Aroldis Chapman. I can't do the show anymore.
I went just a smidge different, and I went with a guy that you don't hear a ton from, but he only played 2 games.
Mhm.
But he was part of that whole shellacking on Friday of the Boston Red Sox.
Oh,
Give
my
me.
God, that game.
We'll talk about it here in a second, but because I was at the middle of my class reunion and I'm here, my phone keeps going off with run scored, run scored.
Yeah, this just
But
in, Toronto scored another run on Boston.
yeah,
I mean, they did it against St. Louis, but
give me Ramel Tapia. I mean, the left fielder from Toronto. He only played in 2 games last week, which it being a shortened week. He only played 2 games total. He batted 500. He went 6 for 12. He had a double, a
no, I'm not
triple,
posting that one,
and
Robert.
a
That's
home run.
that's not okay.
And a home run. But the bigger thing for me is he had 10 RBIs in 2 games. That is just nuts. As much as we like the long ball in this guy generated 10 RBIs in just 6 at bats. So hats off.
That game was absolutely nuts. I mean, the pop ups that got dropped, the inside the park grand slam where the center fielder just gave up on the ball. Just I don't really feel bad for
I was
Boston
just like,
fans, but I kind of do a little bit. It's a total mess, and I love every second of it. What's your series to watch this weekend?
I'm gonna go with one that probably most people kind of laugh at, but give me the Mets and the Marlins. The only reason I'm going that way is you look at the Marlins; they still have a chance in the wild card. Right now, they're sitting 5 games back. Still got a decent chance to get there. Were coming off the Subway Series where I think it's going to be, I think it's, for me, I think it's going to be all Yankees in this set. But right now they're
Oh,
trailing. They're trailing right now. But, that was prior knowledge. But Miami's still got a chance to sneak in there. So I think there's an opportunity for those guys. So a little different game going there.
I am with Robert Taylor. I also do think that he thought it either bounced over and was touched by a fan or went into the crowd. And so I do kind of agree with that. I was surprised you didn't go with your Mariners Astros series again. I left it there for you, but I know you're worried about getting swept again. I get it. Other than that, I'm going to go with the Cleveland Guardians and the Tampa Bay Rays this weekend. Both teams in playoff contention, both teams kind of on that edge of, are we really contenders or are we just off the mark? And let's be honest, the rest of the schedule for this weekend stinks.
Yeah, it was.
It absolutely stinks. I'm not watching the Athletics and White Sox. I'm not watching the Diamondbacks and the Braves. I'm not watching the Brewers and the Red Sox or the Phillies and Pirates. Royals are against the Yankees. It's like one playoff contender and one pretender. It's like that's the schedule in baseball. But I think it's set up perfectly for, okay, I don't have to worry about baseball for a few days. I just need to worry about the trades. And I am all for it. I am all about the rumors of, oh, this guy hugged somebody. Where is he going? Or the Yankees pulled 2 of their prospects from a game. Is it for Luis Castillo? Is it for Juan Soto? Or is it because it was 105 degrees outside? Which is going to be? It's going to be a fun week. As right before we get to that, though, I was able to get Who Am I all by myself last week. I'm still happy that my substitute 2 weeks ago was unable to get your Who Am I, and I am undefeated, usually because of Denny Grubb, but I'm undefeated in Who Am I. So give us part 1, which if you've not been here before, part 1 is a joke. Part 1 is horrible. Robert comes up with the dumbest stuff, and we have to guess who he is.
I gave you a little more, just a little bit more this week. So I was born. Yeah, here we go. I was born in the great state of Texas, where I was a 2-sport athlete. My freshman year, I was not allowed to play sports. I was in the school band. I was a 3-year starter on the football team and a standout track athlete at my high school. And in state, I was represented in state with a personal record 400-meter dash of 47.14, and I jumped over 7.4 meters as a long jumper.
So I was just trying to figure out who out there is caught up on their Texas band history. Anybody?
Cool.
Robert Taylor says Cody Rhodes.
No wrestler this week. I really tried to find a wrestler with a.
I only put born in Texas and 2-sport because the rest of that crap obviously not going to help me.
Jumping Jim Brunzo.
Robert, you just keep guessing. Anybody from Texas, you might nail it. Who knows? All right, let's get into our guesses. I'm not even going to say predictions. Our guesses.
Okay.
For the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Again, it's 1 week away. So next week when we come on, it'll all be done. I do like that that Major League Baseball has changed it, where once the deadline hits, that's it. There's no weird waivers to go around where teams will wait for that. This is it. So we hopefully will get more and more big moves than what we usually get. Some years are better than others. This year is really interesting with the extra wild card spot. So more teams feel like they're in it than others. Teams like Boston right now with all the injuries should feel like they're out of it, but might feel like they're in it. So what are they going to do? And we're going to start with the big one. And the player that you need 97 different players to obtain. But Juan Soto, the outfielder for the Washington Nationals, he will not be a National in 2 years. I will say that. But on August 3rd, will he be a Washington National or will he be playing somewhere else?
You and I talked about it last week. I am going to say no. I think he stays put. I think what Washington wants for him is too darn much. And so I think he's going to stay put. Look for something probably big that'll probably happen right towards the end of the season or right as soon as World Series is done, he gets moved then. But I don't see him leaving Washington before then.
I will disagree with you. I do not think the Nationals are asking for too much. Juan Soto is one of the best players out there. He's 23 years old. He already has World Series experience. He played extremely well in that World Series that the Nationals won. His stats right now are bad because you don't have to pitch to him. You just have to walk him and go to the guy behind him. I think his on-base percentage is like 450 because he's walking so much. You can look that up real quick. But I think if you are a team on the rise and you have the prospects for it, go for it because you don't know what the prospects are going to do. That's what I mean. Prospects are prospects. Some could turn into Julio Rodriguez. Some could. Jared Kelenic was the next big thing. He hasn't really worked out. He may work out and he might not. But everyone's like that's stuck on him. You just don't know. It's the same thing with the Yankees. Yankees have all these high-named prospects. I hope they turn out, but will they turn out? We won't know till they make the majors for a couple of years and we see how it goes. But if you're telling me as like all these maybes or Juan Soto, I'm going to take Juan Soto. But there's enough other big names out there that I think the Nationals are rightfully so holding strong to what they want, that I think it's not just getting the pieces together, it's having the time to really sit down and think about it. And I think teams will wait until that November, December time. He won't be a National next year, but on August 3rd, I will agree he will be stuck in Washington. How about the other National, Josh Bell, first baseman for Washington? And this is where I think that one team that always comes in there and gets that one move that you're like, well, we didn't see that coming. The Houston Astros are going to get Josh Bell, and I'm going to hate it.
I think he's going to go somewhere, but I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I mean, Milwaukee's still got a chance to get in there and make a push for the playoffs. I think he would be a heck of a lot better defensively and offensively than who do you got there? Rowdy Tellez. I think, yeah, I think that would be a very smart place. And when reading some of the stuff that they were talking about, that is probably a good spot for him. And I would agree with that.
Addie, your cookie is really, really good. Thank you. Now the big pitcher out there, Luis Castillo, starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds, and I'm all in. I don't care what you have to give up. He needs to be a Yankee. And you know what? I'll even bend the rules. He doesn't even need a haircut. He needs to be a Yankee.
Yeah, I see him moving too. As much as I think nobody.
You shush your face.
Listen, I agree with that, Robert Taylor. I think he would fit wonderfully in a Seattle blue, but there's not enough money there. So I'm going to go the other blue and the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers make a big push and get one more arm. So I think that is going to be good. So,
Mike, what do you want for Castillo? As a Yankee fan, we will make this trade right now. Well, let's just make it official. I know you're going to miss Castillo, but let's try to make it official right now. What do you want from the Yankees? Let's go. David Robertson, good relief pitcher for the Cubs. I was going to say former Yankee, but he's former a lot of teams.
Former here, former there.
I don't see him back with the Yankees as much as the Yankees now losing Michael King could use another reliever. I'm going to say he goes with the Mets. After the Yankees come back and win this game, they're going to feel like they need a reliever. So he's going to the Mets.
I agree. He's gonna. I think the big market put him back up in New York, but it's gonna be the Mets. They need another arm back there to if they want to keep up with the Braves. It's going to be a back and forth thing, and it's going to boil down to the month of the season. And I think they just need that extra little oomph, and I think that'd be a great place for him with Chicago wanting to unload some people. I think it's a great spot for him.
Sold. Sold to Mike. 6-pack of PBR and a jar of Vaseline. I think I can handle it. I can front that bill. Another Cub, Wilson Contreras, their catcher. I kind of him and hawed on where he might go. Tampa Bay just knows they're going to lose their catcher for the rest of the year. So Rays still feel like they're in it, even though they're losing to Baltimore right now. But I think he'll be a Ray.
There's a couple places that he could easily go fit. But from the readings that I've been doing, I'm hearing it's a package deal. I hear it's a Robertson and Contreras deal that's going to send from Chicago to New York. That could easily happen. So
that's fair. Another catcher for. Hey. I'll add it to the credit card that's already filled up with Lambo stuff. Another catcher, this one from the Oakland Athletics, Sean Murphy. How about to a spot that, yes, they have an all-time catcher there, but he's up there in age, so you can replace him down the line. And with the National League having the DH this year, you can have one of them DH from time to time and get some breaks in there. They're in a great battle right now. How about the St. Louis Cardinals? That's where I think Sean Murphy is going to go.
I think he leaves, but I don't think he leaves too far. I think he just gets in his car and drives across the bridge. And I think he's going to be that replacement finally for Buster Posey. I forget the kid's name that they drafted to be Buster's replacement, and he still hasn't taken a swing in the big leagues. I think that would be a great spot for him to come in and take some pressure off and be there. So, send him across the river, send him across the bridge. He doesn't go very far, but he'll end up as a Giant.
Another athletic player, Frankie Montas, their star starting pitcher. Where does he go?
I would love to say the Seattle Mariners. Again, I don't think we can get the money for him and what Seattle wants to give up for him. I think he's going to go to the Braves. I think the Braves could benefit again for the same reason that the Mets need somebody in the bullpen. I think Atlanta could benefit from one more starter there in their rotation with this push with the Mets coming down to the final month of the season.
How about Andrew Benintendi, the outfielder for the Royals? I'm hearing a lot of rumors about the Yankees. Now with Stanton going down, it might make a lot of sense. Great average guy for KC, formerly of Boston. I think it's a good fit to get a good on base guy as far as Benintendi goes in front of the big boppers that the Yankees have. So I'm going to say yes, he ends up with the Yankees.
How funny would that be for Joey Gallo to be part of that? Because send Gallo down, bring Benintendi up. How much money do you have to give him?
I'm not into. I don't really drink alcohol. I'll take the 6-pack of PBR and the jar of Vaseline for. You don't even just half one of those. I'll take a 2-pack of PBR. Who wants Joey Gallo out there?
Well, a month ago, I think there was a few.
My daughter made cookies. Do you want cookies with Joey Gallo?
Yeah, I think it's a great fit for Benintendi. Ended up at the Yankees, and I think they make a move to get him. So,
all right. How about another outfielder, Brian Reynolds? Where do you think he goes?
Mr. Reynolds, I think he would benefit, and this is me just talking out loud, is I think Harper's numbers are down. I would say send him to Philly. I mean, Harper's still not back yet. Don't know how much longer he's going to be out, but I think that'd be a great place for him. Send him just up the road a little bit and let him pay for Philly, be a decent replacement there for Harper.
All right. To me, I don't think he moves. I think he is one of those players that maybe Pittsburgh really feels like they could build around. They have a really great young core. The Pittsburgh Pirates, to me, feel like a team in 2 or 3 years could really be contenders, especially in the NL Central. That's okay. They have the two top teams right now with the Brewers and the Cardinals. So it's kind of up in the air. And the Pirates with O'Neill Cruz and keep Brian Hayes on the infield, having Brian Reynolds there, he's fantastic. Seeing him in a few different games this year, he's fantastic. So I just don't think he moves. And you already brought it up, Joey Gallo. Where is he playing August 3rd? And do not say the New York Yankees or I'll kick you out of the call.
Yeah, as much as if the Benintendi thing worked, I think that would be part of him moving on if they would send Benintendi down to New York and Gallo. But, there's going to have to be a couple other players involved with that to get him. I could see the Royals doing it, but I see him more moving out to the West Coast. San Diego could sure use a little bit of a veteran, I think there. But adding him there, how does it change the dramatics with Machado and Tatis? I mean, what does that look like anymore?
I don't care what it does to them. It gets him off the Yankees. Joey Gallo could be this great guy. I have no idea. He just did not work with the Yankees. He's batting like 160 and has changed nothing. He's a decent defensive outfielder, but I can't stand him when he's playing. I'm with you. Send him to San Diego. Give us a reliever. I don't care. Move on. One thing I did notice when we filled out these 10 names, neither of us put the Seattle Mariners. Are they not going to buy anybody at this deadline?
Listen, I think they make a move. Unfortunately, I don't think Castillo's the price that they can get for him. I think they need to go a pitching change. I think they need to go add one more arm. As much as I want to talk about Robbie Ray and what he's done, Marco Gonzalez has, I think, hit his peak. He has a few wins. He's not the Marco of old. I think it's time to move on from him. And I could see easily a right-hander or a left-hander starter right there.
I've seen a lot of Mariner fans get really mad at this idea, and I don't understand why. But would you be upset if your team traded for Juan Soto?
I mean, they'd have to give up a lot. So, I mean,
I think Kelenic would have to be part. It'd be Kelenic and like 5 other pieces.
Yeah,
would you be mad?
I think that would give us a little bit more pop. Can you imagine the youth with Soto and the youth with
Soto
Rodriguez?
And Julio Rodriguez for this year and the next 2 years before you even have to re-sign them?
The big thing is we get to talking so much about the length of the deal and how much money it is and all that. And some of these guys signing huge, long deals, sometimes you feel like they're sucked into that deal for so long. It makes you wonder how many, guys would have to be involved with a trade to get Soto. And then how long could you keep Soto there?
Well, you keep him for 2.5 years.
Well, that's the thing.
And if you can't re-sign him, then you trade him at that next deadline. I mean, I think Seattle should do it. I haven't seen anything from Kelenic that would make me feel like he is untouchable.
No, he's not untouchable.
You want to break this playoff drought, so why not go all in? Why hold on to these maybes when you have Juan Soto who would come in there and be fantastic for you instantly for 2 months, get you into the playoffs for the first time, and you still have 2 more years before you have to worry about re-signing him. And people going, oh, he turned down $440 million. No, he turned down being stuck at Washington for 15 years. Mm-hmm. And being what? Not even top 30 as far as year or money per year. Like that contract offer from the Nationals was just to then throw it out there like, oh, look, he turned down $440 million, guys. So you guys are going to have to ask for a ton. That was all PR move from Washington. I bet. I mean, it's going to be a very pretty penny to get Soto, period. And not 15 years worth. I would go 7 years and a ridiculous amount of money. You want to be the highest paid player per year? Go for it. I'll do it for 7 years. And then we'll rethink about it when you're 30.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see him on the team. It's just depending on what management wants to do to the lineups. But I think, heck, I would even throw Marco Gonzalez with that part in there.
They don't want him.
That's the thing. I'm to the point that I don't want him. So
we got to move on. But one last thing. Been hearing a lot of rumors that possibly the Angels are going to think about moving Shohei Ohtani. Is that even feasible in a week?
I don't know. That is just crazy to see what they even do. That would be interesting to see if Ohtani is that person that wants to be moved. So it'll be interesting to what it comes down to.
Danny, you got here just the time he is over there at the Oregon coast having a good time. Pleased with the Orioles moving past Boston, and they just beat Tampa Bay again. Sorry, Eric. But Danny, what does Baltimore do at the trade deadline? Well, that's another team that out of our 10 nominees popped up, we did not send any of them to Baltimore. Are they big buyers here at the deadline?
You want to know the one that I read a couple, and he might throw his computer after I say this, but what about Odor? Do they move him? I mean, there's a lot.
Only if they were sellers. Rugi's been fantastic for Baltimore, and he's a good role model, and they will trade Mancini. That's one that I have kind of seen, and that's if they don't feel like they really have a chance this year. It would make sense to get rid of Mancini and continue to build this team, because I think Denny Grubb, I mean, he's having a lot of fun with us, and that's why he's such a great guy. But if you ask him honestly, I don't think he believes that they're really contenders this year. I think they're kind of like Seattle last year, a little bit ahead of schedule. They have a lot of young talent out there, and it's going to be a good team very, very soon. But I mean, even if they make the wild card round, nobody's going to pick them to move on from there. So Baltimore and Boston and maybe even the White Sox, the Guardians are another team. The Phillies in the National League are teams that are like, we might be playoff contenders, but would we be better off selling and focusing on next year? It'll be really interesting. Let's move on quickly to some local sports as all the summer stuff is starting to wrap up. All the Legion ball, all the Babe Ruth ball is starting to wrap up. And we had some great teams move on to big tournaments and not have the results that they were hoping for. Start with the 16 and under Babe Ruth softball team that won the Northwest Regional, got to go to Florida, play in the Babe Ruth Softball World Series. Unfortunately, they do go 0-7 down there, but you have to remember this is 16 and under, and they have players that are 11 and 12 years old on this team. Every single player that went down to Florida for this team is eligible to play again next year, and they were able to get all of this experience. So don't get the win, but get a lot of experience down there. Lewis Clark Twins were playing in the Idaho State 2A tournament, lost both of their games. A bit disappointing there because I felt like they had a lot of talent on that team. But the Lewis Clark Cubs get ready to start the 1A tournament starting tomorrow, and we'll see what they are able to do. I have a preview on that on the Tribune today. You're muted, sir. Professionalism.
Well, my ears were buzzing again. I messaged Haley. I said, "Is it me or is it your microphone?" But I think it's on my end. So, yeah, excited to see the youth of these Cubs. As a couple of them are just now freshmen that I've seen play football for me. So I'm excited to see what those guys can do on the diamond. It's God, we're running out of days here for the baseball season for these local kids.
Yeah, it's almost football season, that's for sure. Real quick, we'll finish off this first hour of the show with our top 5 college football national champion contenders. We're not going to break it down too much since we still have about a month before games actually start. Oh, drama. There's drama on the R&R Sports Report. He's sneaking over to Haley's DMs while he knows I'm busy. All the drama's going on. Jeez. It's all right. I'll get him back on the golf course. I'll hit him with a golf club in the back. All right. Give me your top 5 contenders that you think could raise the trophy at the end.
Until Dabo proves me wrong, I think he's still got to be a top 5. I do have him at 5 this year. For me, the number 4 team has to be Oklahoma. What Oklahoma is doing over the last couple of years, I like it. See, she's laughing about it too.
Because we caught you.
I was all professional. I was all professional. I think Oklahoma is that sleeper team that can get up there and even maybe get the number 1 position, but I'm going to keep them at 4. Ohio State just keeps building and building and building. I like what they're doing. I have them at 3. This year, I'm going to go back to the defending champions being number 1. Give me Georgia up top and Alabama second. I think from what I'm hearing, that the stuff that Alabama is losing some of their recruitment. So I'm going to put Georgia ahead of Alabama.
There's something that you missed.
That
is shocking to me. I thought you were all in on Cincinnati all the time.
I am on Cincinnati.
Where are they?
They're in my top 10, but they're not in my top 5.
Only 4 teams make the playoffs, sir.
That needs to be fixed too. That's a whole nother subject.
Well, it's going to get fixed when it's all SEC and Big Ten and no one else is invited. That's when it gets fixed. My top 5, Alabama. I'll go reverse order. Alabama to me is still number 1. They're always number 1 because Nick Saban just always does that. Doesn't matter what recruits they get or lose. They just make it work. Bryce Young is still there. Going to lead a very good offense. I'm excited in CJ Stroud. I want to see what he does with Ohio State. He doesn't have Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave this year, but from everything I've been reading, the talent that they have replaced them with is top notch as well. So Ohio State is my second team. Georgia only returns 3 starters on defense. That never matters. It's an SEC team. It's a top SEC team. They just replenish all the time. Their program's fantastic. They are 3. Clemson will be interesting because they might have a switch at the quarterback role because that's kind of been a mess the last year or 2. We'll see what they are able to do there. Great defensive line for that team. And for me, the number 5 team is Texas A&M. Yeah, at some point with all these great recruiting classes that they have gotten over the last year or 2 or 3, you're going to have to be able to do something with it. I think their secondary is fantastic. It just depends on who's going to lead them in the quarterback position and if these top tier recruiting classes will finally work out in their favor. So yes, I do have 3 SEC teams in there, but so what happens when the SEC runs everything and within 5 years, they'll have their own league. Apparently they're just going to do their own thing. Maybe they'll invite the Big Ten to be the minor leagues to their major leagues, but we'll see how all that goes in the near future because college football is a mess. You are watching the summer version of the R&R Sports Report. It's our 92nd episode. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us nearly 2 full years of this. We will be back on KLCZ in about a month, really. It's getting closer and closer, and then we'll reformat the show a little bit since we will be back live in person and we'll be back on the streaming service there. And I always get asked if we have a podcast version of the show. It's something I need to look into to throw this show in audio form for people to tune in when they can't catch it live. So it's something for us to think about. So maybe that'll be part of season 3, I guess, is what you would call this fall. We're getting close to episode 100. I saw we lost a couple followers on the Facebook page. We're like 7 away from our MMA training. So if you know anybody out there that is not following the R&R Sports Report and likes to listen to 2 doofuses talk sports, go have them follow the R&R Sports Report. All right, that's my spiel to start the top of the hour. Robert, you gave us nonsense. We know this person's from Texas. We know this person played 2 sports. We know this person played band and did some track stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So part 2 of Who Am I? Give us some extra stuff.
All right, here we go. I was heavily recruited in college and made 5 official college visits.
Oh my God.
It's getting better. Hold on. I was an All-American twice
For who?
and won the highest college award as a senior.
You almost said national championship.
I know. So I won the highest college award
Uh-huh.
as a senior.
For who?
My high school is the
Son of a.
only school in the nation
Okay.
to produce 2 Heisman Trophy winners. That's all you're
God, I
getting.
want to Google that so bad. I'm going to be good and I won't Google it, but that's a good clue. But not knowing where this person went to college, that's tough. All right. Anybody out there that knows it and is smarter than me and wants to Google it, because I can't, let me know. Don't put it in the chat. Message me on Facebook so I can pretend that I'm smart. Pull a Denny Grubb and accidentally, quote unquote, send it to me instead of Robert Hagan. We'll do part 3 with the clues at the bottom of our second hour. And then if we need to, we'll end the show with the final part and then you can school me. But right now, we got a decent group here.
Mhm.
We kind of struggled last week, not really having anybody on the live chat to do the sports related draft. And nobody was nice enough to give us a vote on the Facebook page. So I win.
No.
I break your streak. Last week, I don't know what was last week. It was so
Best
long
home
ago.
run derby performances.
Best home run derby performance was last week. Anybody that wants to just say that I win, go right ahead. But right now, we said at the top of the hour, Robert, you had the topic. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So this week, with seeing a few things going on and them talking different things, I saw a picture and I thought, there we go. We have not done one yet that talked about some of the most iconic pictures in sports history. So that's where we went. So I chose the category most iconic picture to be in sports, and I had the topic. So, sir, you get the first pick, and I figured this was going to easily be in our top 6 between us. I was hoping he'd drop down to me, but
Do you have these?
I have them. I can pull them up. Yes.
Do you have them by themselves?
Yes.
Okay. So do you want to share them so people can see it? Because it's all about the picture. So people need to see these pictures, which ruins my idea for an audio podcast version of the show, but we're not there yet, so it's fine. My first pick, my other 2 picks I took as far as, big changes in culture or attempted changes in culture. Let's be honest. I mean, look at the landscape of the world right now. But attempts. But my first one, super iconic, Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston. That's the best thing Robert Taylor's ever said. I can't disagree. I cannot disagree at all on that one. But no, Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston, supposedly telling him to get up and fight. There's this whole deal about whether Sonny Liston fell down on the fight or was giving up on the fight. But it's a fantastic photo. And the one thing I will say is, back in Robert's heyday, back in the olden times, they took some fantastic photos. And that's where I kind of went with mine. But I'm not a boxing fan, but what an iconic photo of Muhammad Ali.
I don't know, sir, if I was quite. I think I was very young when he when that fight happened. Do you remember what year that was in?
1960.
Yeah, I wasn't even born yet. I wasn't even born yet, so you can't use that one. So nice try. Cannot do
don't
that.
lie to the people.
For me, my first pick and probably one of the biggest moments that I ever saw, and I remember seeing it live. This was when it was hugely important, what was going on. He winning his second slam dunk contest. He beats out Dominique Wilkins And this is the first ever perfect score in the dunk contest, and where he takes off from the free throw line. I know there's another angle with this where he's looking up. There's a shot where the picture is over the top of the backboard.
I like that one better.
I do too. I love seeing him leap from
I win. You just
free
said there
throw
was a
line.
better picture.
This picture than the other picture, not
Okay.
yours.
I like the other picture better.
So 1988, first perfect score in the dunk competition, and first two-time winner. And he beat Dominique Wilkins, who is one of my favorite players of all time. So for me, I am going to go. My first pick is Michael Jordan there.
It's fair. It's a good picture. It's a good moment. My second pick, again, I kind of went more iconic as far as how important these pictures were. Go all the way back to the 1968 Olympics. Again, Robert Hagen's time, not mine. But there you go. The human rights salute with Tommy Smith and John Carlos, going through everything that was going on in the world, and wanting to make a movement and wanting to get their voices heard without really having to say anything. And that's what they decided to do. I know a lot of people will respect what these guys do, and then they don't respect what Colin Kaepernick did, even though Kaepernick was trying to do the same thing, but it was taken in a different way. It was a different time for sure, but it was an iconic moment that still stands today, and it just kind of shows what was going on back then, and let's be honest, it's still kind of going on right now. But that photo not only will be in like greatest sports pictures of all time, those are iconic photos in the history of everything, and is in a lot of history books, and it's important.
Yeah, I agree. I like the picture. I just didn't want to go political, but unfortunately, that's where sports has taken us. So, for me, my second round picture that
I think this was the slide that Eric was talking about, and I might be wrong. Eric's listening. Is this the slide, Eric? Were you talking about this slide?
Miss Brandi Chastain ends up 1999, the World Cup, and the women, U.S. women tie China 0-0, and comes down to penalty kicks, and Brandi Chastain gets the last penalty kick and wins it for the United States. You see her run across the field, ripping her jersey off and sliding. Almost, I want to say she slid like 20 feet or so on her pads and her shin pads underneath. And it's a huge moment for U.S. women's soccer. And that is one of those shots that has just kind of been cemented in sports history.
Just one of those moments that shows that women's soccer in the U.S. is way better than the men's soccer. For one, I just remember the controversy from it. Oh, how dare she take her shirt off? What are young girls going to think? Yet you turn on Summer Olympics and the women's volleyball team is forced to wear something even smaller than that. Like the double standard that went on with all of that was hilarious. But what a great moment for U.S. soccer. And you've seen that women's soccer in the U.S. continues to kind of dominate right now. And it's moments like that really help cement that. It was a good picture. All right. Yep. For me, again, I went more iconic as far as just history. I know we don't want to get political with it, but the fact that Jesse Owens, a black athlete, is in Berlin, Germany, where, I mean, the U.S. almost didn't even go to these games because of everything that was going on. And she's standing there saluting her flag while you have all of the Nazi symbols and doing their Nazi salute stuff going on at the same time. Just what an iconic picture.
Yeah.
So that's my third pick.
And the height of the war and all that, and what was going on, it just crazy. Again, I went the different way. I didn't want to go political in any way, shape, or form. But for me, it has to be one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and what he did to the world of golf. I'm going to take Tiger Woods, 1997, his first Masters, his first of 15 majors. And you see that pump and how all of America just kind of grasped onto it, and you see people do that. You and I see it while we bowl. There's guys that do that kind of stuff now, and how many of the golfers nowadays have some kind of slight movement to that one. So for me, it's got to be Tiger Woods there. Now, you and I talked a few minutes ago before I put up the group of them. There's a lot of names we didn't add on here. We talked about Pete Rose, his slide. We could have easily talked about the catch. Willie Mays'
catch was
catch.
one. The Willie Mays' catch was one that was up there, but you and I both are in agreement that catch is kind of overrated.
Right. And Dwight Clark, his catch in the Super Bowl. There were so many pictures.
For me, when we try to stay away from the political side, but another huge moment to me was George Bush throwing the first pitch at Yankee Stadium after 9/11. I thought that photo was fantastic. You want to get goofy with it? Hogan slamming Andre is probably the most iconic photo ever in professional wrestling. You want to get sentimental with it? How about Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Michael Waltrip hugging on the top of Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car at the first race at Daytona after, Dale Sr. passed away? That's an iconic picture in NASCAR. There's so many out there. So it was a fun topic.
Yeah, so this week, this is what Randy and I did. So most iconic picture in sports history. So Randy took Muhammad Ali, the human rights movement, and Jesse Owens. I'm going to take Michael Jordan a little ways away from the political side. I'm taking Michael Jordan, Randy Chastain, and Tiger Woods as those. So let us know. Vote in the comments. Let us know who wins this one. And like we said, there are so many other ones that could have easily could have made that.
What picture of the Mamba would have even solidified? It has nothing to do with how good Kobe was or not was, but there's no iconic photo of Kobe Bryant. There's some good photos, I'm sure, but there's nothing iconic from it. Goodness gracious. All right, let's get back to our updated scoreboard. Some games are starting to finish up. Again, the Cubs have beat the Pirates 4-2. Marlins hold on to beat the Reds 2-1. And the Orioles come back to beat the Rays 5-3 going on right now. Bottom of the 8th inning. Mets still holding on to their 5-3 lead against the Yankees. For some reason, New York decided to pinch hit Joey Gallo and took out IKF.
No way.
I did my best not to scream during the show, so you guys are be thankful. Braves over the Phillies 6-3 in the 9th. Blue Jays all over the Cardinals now 10-3 in the 9th inning. Guardians over the Red Sox 8-3 in the 8th. Bottom of the 9th inning, Padres holding on to a 3-2 lead, 2 outs in that one, but the Tigers have the tying run at first. 2-0 Angels over the Royals in the bottom of the 6th, but the Royals have the bases loaded. Twins and Brewers are tied at 6. Well, now the bases are no longer loaded. They got out of that inning. Tied at 6 between the Twins and the Brewers in the 6th inning. White Sox 1, Rockies 0 in the 5th. And scoreless everywhere else. Astros, Athletics in the 2nd. Giants, Diamondbacks in the 2nd. And the Nationals, Dodgers, and Rangers and Mariners just getting started. And Robert said he sent me a picture. Oh, that pic. Okay, that's a cool moment. That's not an iconic picture. He shows me a picture of when the one player fakes the inbounds pass at Kobe Bryant's face, and Kobe just never moves. That's an iconic video of him not moving, but I don't know about iconic picture. As right now, I win. Eric says I win.
Did Eric not even see the slide? I picked the slide that he was probably talking about. That's what
he has not said whether it was or not, but obviously you did not fully catch up because of it. So maybe it was a different slide. Which slide were you talking about? All right, let's get into some NFL news. Small news as training camp have started to open. So luckily the injuries are not fully going just yet. But Chris Carson has to retire after 5 years from a neck injury. Seattle had released him earlier as he had failed his physical. You ask who will fill his shoes? Anybody. He had done nothing the last 2 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's happened. I think the bigger part of that story that I've read about, they're just going to put him in as a failed, physical. So Seattle will
Haley,
pay,
I love
keep
you,
some
but I
money.
hate you.
What did she do this time?
Hold on. She said we missed a picture. We missed a butt fumble. Thanks, Haley. Love you too.
And just think, you get to probably replay that in Lambeau. Maybe who knows?
God.
But
we had a good run. Haley and I had a great run. It's sad that it ends like this.
Oh, that's
well
funny.
done. Well done, Haley. That was a good one. No, I feel bad for Chris Carson. He looked like he had a lot of talent. Getting over 1,000 yards in 2018, 2019. Injuries have just kind of derailed him, and it continues. He only played 4 games last year, only 16 games total the last 2 years, and now he'll be out at least a year. But he ends up deciding to retire after 5 years, and I hope he lives a healthy life after his football career. I don't blame him for retiring and just moving on. We'll see where he goes from there. Minka Fitzpatrick falls off his bike on vacation and has been put on the PUP list. And one thing I did not put, all the Jets injury worries coming into the season all came off the PUP list today. We'll see how long that lasts. But for now, things are looking up for the Jets. And Julio Jones, we wondered where he was going to go. And I think we both predicted this. He is now a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, signs a 1-year deal there. What do you think about that fit?
As we were talking about it earlier, I think, what is it going to add into there when you already have Godwin, you already have Russell Gage, you already have Mike Evans? I don't see him getting near as much even playtime. I mean, yeah, give him a year, but he struggled last year. So I don't see, other than being a veteran that is
a veteran role player, but
exactly,
you're going to have those players, Evans, Godwin, and Gage, being focused on by the cornerbacks and the safeties, and now you're going to have Julio against the 4th best defender. 5th best defender, maybe, because you have to worry about the tight ends too. When you have that many weapons, yes, Julio Jones did not do great at Tennessee, but he only had one person distracting people
just one
in the secondary. I mean, nobody's worried about Derrick Henry as far as receiving goes, but once they knew that they were throwing the ball, you just worried about A.J. Brown. Now you worry about a bunch of people. So, I mean, we will see. And let's get into that. Let's get into Randy's. Believe it or not, we have not done this in a while. And it's kind of a smaller version of it. We've got 5 topics for you today. And it's just kind of and believe it or not, for what players will do this season. Some of them are coming up on milestones, and whether they will get there or not. We will start with Julio Jones. And believe it or not, Julio Jones will have 50 or more receptions with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 50 or more receptions for Julio Jones. What say you?
I'm going to take the under. As much as he was a great fit, for many, many years in Atlanta, I don't see him making more than maybe 45, if that, maybe 40 catches total. And I would be very, very surprised if he got more than 5 touchdowns for the entire season.
Oh, that's too many. I mean, he might, just because touchdowns are fluky. Eric Watkins, 45 catches and 2 touchdowns. Yep. You talked about he had a horrible year with Tennessee. He only played 10 games because of injuries. He had 48 targets, 31 receptions, and the 1 touchdown. Now, touchdowns are here or there. Depends on, where Brady goes is near the end zone. He's not going to have these big plays. Can he get to 50 catches? If he can stay healthy for 18 games, that's a little over 2 catches a game. I think he can get there. I'm going to say I believe it. But he has to stay healthy. If he only plays 10 games, obviously it's not going to happen. And maybe that's the bigger concern. Is Julio Jones going to stay healthy for the full season?
I just don't see him more than I'm like Eric. I can see maybe 45 at the max.
All right, here we're Robert Taylor's been hanging out, so we got to talk about Patrick Mahomes. So I already know whatever I say now, Robert Taylor is going to agree. He's got a hot take. Hold on. Well, Jody Forston will be the breakout player.
We did breakout players last week.
Yeah, but I mean that's
That's
a good
good. He
take. It could be interesting. That's a good, interesting take. But Patrick Mahomes, I'm waiting for Robert Taylor just to say he believes it, no matter what I put. But believe it or not, Patrick Mahomes will pass Dan Marino for most touchdown passes in the first 75 career starts. Dan Marino had 173. Patrick Mahomes is at 151. I'm forgetting now how many starts Patrick Mahomes has. I forgot to put that in my notes. 1 second.
I think he has
63 career starts. So in the first 12 games, he needs 22 touchdown passes. Does he get there or not?
That's just under 2 a game. I think he does. I think he really does. So as much as the way he throws the ball, he's got to be number 1 or number 2 best quarterback in the league right now.
Behind Aaron Rodgers.
Oh my God. Did you see that article today or that story today? They were talking about he was ranked number 2.
Yes.
And it was
by the executives and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't Undisputed. Undisputed was mad about it because the executives agreed with me when we did that on this show. We did that on this show where I said Aaron Rodgers was number 1, Patrick Mahomes was number 2.
Right. And I think I had Patrick Mahomes in like number 5.
You had him number 1. You had Patrick Mahomes 1. Stop it. Stop trying to be controversial on things you're not controversial about. Let's be controversial about this.
Eric thinks he gets there by week 9 easily.
It's what did we say? 22 touchdowns in 9 games. That's not bad. I don't know where Kansas City's bye week is, so it's either in 8 or 9 games. But yeah, I think this is a no-brainer one. I knew Robert's been hanging out with us a little bit, so we have to get some Kansas City questions in here. Let's get controversial though. Lamar Jackson will become the 5th quarterback with at least 4,500 rushing yards by the end of the season. Believe it or not. He needs 827 rushing yards to get to that mark.
So one thing, the Kansas City Chiefs has their bye week in week 8, so right in the middle. So
yeah. Anyway, so in 8 games. That's
fine. Yeah, that's an easy yes. Lamar will become the 5th quarterback to get it there. He's not that far away.
He's 827, I said.
Like I said, he's not that far away. I think even with a healthy J.K. Dobbins, he's got a great chance to get there. I mean, they're going to start.
What does J.K. Dobbins have to do with his rushing yards?
He's going to keep everything balanced. Last year was all about Lamar trying to get things going. I think with him being back in the lineup, I think it's easy.
I'm with Eric. I think he worries more about the passing, and he wants to show he's a quarterback. I don't think he gets to 827 yards. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think he needs to get over 800 yards for Baltimore to be successful. For those wondering, your other 4 quarterbacks that have been over 4,500 rushing yards, Russell Wilson is 4th with 4,689. Randall Cunningham at 4,928. Cam Newton at 5,628. And then, of course, Michael Vick at 6,109. Does Lamar Jackson pass Michael Vick all time? Obviously not this year, but in his career. No.
I mean, I think he could easily be 1-2. I think he can beat Cam's numbers. I mean, he's not very far from Cam's numbers whatsoever. So, God, Michael Vick, I mean, he's even talked to him and told him that, he watched his game and he revolved around watching Michael Vick's game. So what better way to honor that? Yeah, I think he could. I really do. I think he could eventually break it.
I think so too. I just realized, other than Julio Jones, we're all AFC here, and I don't mind it. Justin Herbert.
Well,
before I get to the Justin Herbert, Robert Taylor has Justin Herbert Robert Taylor says Justin Herbert falters with all the talent surrounding him, and the Chargers actually place 4th in the division. Funny thing that Robert said that before I decided to do Believe It or Not. We were going to reveal our last place team in each division, and that might be what we do next week. I will spoil it right now. I will not have the Chargers last in the AFC West, but I probably won't have them first. I haven't decided yet. We'll see when we get there. But Justin Herbert will become the first player ever to record at least 4,000 passing yards in each of his first 3 seasons, believe it or not.
Well, I think by far, I think he is one of we've talked about him many times, what he can do and what he's capable of, and what he has just gotten better since year one. In 2020, he was right at 4,300 yards. Last year, 2021, over 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
Can you repeat another 5,000 season? No, I think he does. I think he does do another 4,000 season.
If he has a great year, he could hit 5,000. Eric says 4,375. One thing that goes in Justin Herbert's favor is the fact that they're all playing an extra game.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 17-game schedule instead of 16. I do think that, again, as long as he stays healthy, he will surpass 4,000 yards. Hey, it's not Justin Herbert's fault that Mahomes could only play 1 season as a rookie. All right. And now let's get Robert Taylor all worked up. Let's finish off Randy's Believe It or Not. Tyreek Hill, Robert Taylor's favorite player, who for some reason believes Tua is the most accurate quarterback in the league. Which, no. But that's neither here nor there. But Tyreek Hill will join Randy Moss as the only wide receivers to have at least 7 touchdowns in each of their first 7 seasons.
Believe it or not. Yeah, I think it's, even though it is Miami, I think it's a hard yes. I mean, to get 7 touchdowns in a season for a number 1 receiver, I think it's a no-brainer. So it's going to be more of how quick he gets there. But I think it boils down to that, like Robert was saying, how the chemistry works out between Tua and Tyreek. So it'll be interesting to see.
To me, it honestly just depends on if he gets thrown into the running game, which I think he might, and do some gadget plays there. You look at his career, his rookie year, he only had 6 receiving touchdowns, but he did have 3 on the ground. 2017, he only had 7 touchdown receptions, none on the ground. He had a great year in 2018 where he had 12 receiving touchdowns and 1 on the ground. Again, only 7 touchdown receptions in 2019 with none in the running game. So there's twice he's just been right on that edge. Obviously, 2020, the ridiculous year where he had 15 receiving touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns, and then 9 last year with Kansas City. So I'm with Eric. I think it's going to be a very close race. Again, touchdowns are very fluky, but Miami brings him in there to be the playmaker and that key guy. And I really think that they're going to feed Tyreek Hill anytime they're near the end zone. They will come up with some goofy gadget plays as well. So I do think he will get at least 7 touchdowns.
Well, you got Jalen Waddle. Who's the other guy that he can throw to? Jalen Waddle.
Waddle's fantastic too.
And you got what is it? Gesicki? Is that his name? The tight end.
Oh, Mike. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's going to be a little bit easier than what we're leaning into.
The touchdowns are fluky. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
You just never know. And you got Cedric Wilson's okay.
Yeah.
Chase Edmonds can catch the ball. But he never scores. That's the other thing. Chase Edmonds is not a goal line back, really. So you might have to pass the ball.
Well, the thing is, he like I brought up, he was my guy I talked about week before last week we talked about was Chase Edmonds was my guy for breakout. Mm-hmm. I think him moving to a team designed a little bit different, not in that Arizona scheme. I think it's going to be a huge asset for Edmonds. Maybe he can receive a couple of those touchdowns. It'll be interesting to see.
All right, let's move on now. Part 3 of Who Am I? We know some stuff.
Go ahead
and recap and hit us with some more stuff.
All right, here's your recaps. He was born in Texas. He was a two-sport athlete. Your funniest one that you laughed at. He was not allowed to play sports his freshman year by his mom, so he played band. he was he was heavily recruited, and he ended up he was an All-American twice and won the Heisman Trophy. And the biggest clue I've given you so far, his high school is the only school in the nation to produce 2 Heisman Trophy winners ever. So there was that one. All right. Next clue. Even with winning the Heisman, he was not drafted in the top 5. I played 17 years in the NFL. All but one was with the same franchise. So he played for just 2 organizations. I'm a 9-time Pro Bowler, and I'm a Hall of Famer, and got into the Hall of Fame on my 5th year of eligibility. And that's all you get right now. I only have one clue left, and that was the 4th one. So
Yeah, nothing. Eric, anything? You got anything from this guy? Nothing is popping up in my head. And I'm doing my best not to look up this Heisman thing, even though I really want to. Dang. My streak might end unless Eric or Robert saves my butt, because that's not happening. All right. Let's move on. And I warned everybody that we will get into some wrestling stuff. So if you hate wrestling and you want to move on, thank you so much for hanging out. But please hang on, because we got some other sports to talk about. But we got a wrestling segment coming in, because the big news that happened on Friday, Vince McMahon, at the age of 77, finally retired from the WWE. It's something that when all the news broke out, we all expected. But when it happened, none of us expected it. It was one of those, all right, his time has to be coming to an end, but we just never thought we would ever see a WWE without Vince McMahon. We all just figured he was a robot at this point, some sort of cyborg that was just going to outlive us all. And that is no longer the case. Obviously, Wall Street Journal broke the news of over $14 million that we're giving out as hush money to different affairs and different work-related incidents. There's possibly new reports going out there as he's getting investigated federally now. On top of all of that, some inner working changes for the WWE. Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan are now your co-CEOs, and Triple H yesterday was named head of creative, and he's also head of talent relations, which is fantastic. I'm a big fan of that, but just your overall thoughts on the Vince McMahon era coming to an end.
You know, when I started watching it, it was weird. You always thought that he was just the guy at the table doing the commentary and all that, and his dad was behind all of it. It was, yeah.
He called CM Punk called it.
Mm-hmm. And so it just, for me, I was shocked to see how long it finally took before he finally stepped down. And you're gonna have to remind me, how many years ago was it that they did the riff when Triple H came out and said that he was no longer CEO and all that? That was after the, I want to say that must have been like mid 2000 teens, somewhere in there, when all that went down.
Weird storyline they did.
Yeah. So I'm not
that was
shocked.
Just to try to get Vince off TV. And
yeah,
obviously that worked.
Yeah. Until a few weeks ago when he's made so many appearances.
Right.
It's like, so, it is what it is. It's about time that he is finally stepping down. Just crazy way it's happening.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, I've never lived in a Vince McMahon-less wrestling world, but I'm excited for it. I think the WWE needed a new look for a long time, and I, for one, had loved what Triple H was doing at NXT. before he had his health concerns. I am worried about Triple H and his health because he had a lot of stuff going on and retired from everything because of it. And now not only has he come back to do what he was doing, but even more. So I hope he does not overdo things and try to do the Vince work day that he had done for so many years. But what he did with NXT for years was fantastic. NXT 2.0 is garbage, and I can't stand it. So I'm hoping over time what Triple H can do to the product will be great. We need something good because none of it has really been that great. I know a lot of people are like, oh, AEW, that's where it's at. No, it's horrible. The barbed wire everywhere match might have been the worst match of the year. So I'm hoping for some change, and Triple H being that change could be a great thing.
Yeah, I think it will end up being better in the long run. So I'm hoping to see that. Now, with all of that being said, I said I was going to drop this question to you, and I'm going to drop it to you. And I know this man has got. I've listened to a few of his little comments that he does in press conferences, but how does Paul Heyman fit in the picture creatively or with management stuff now?
Wherever the hell he wants to. I think Paul Heyman's a genius. I think what he has done to that company, especially helping out some of the superstars in the back, just working on stuff. It seems from the stories I have been told, he is kind of that go-to guy just to sit down with and kind of work through things. He is not going to sugarcoat anything for people. So yeah, if he wants to help run creative, I think Triple H would have no problem with that. If they want to have Triple H run Raw and Paul Heyman run SmackDown, if that's what Paul Heyman wants to do, I don't think they'd have any issues doing that. I think it's whatever Paul wants to do at this point. I think he gets a big step forward as a lot of the old guard will be brushed aside with Vince leaving. We already lost Laurinaitis, thank goodness. I'm still waiting for Kevin Dunn to be given his pink slip. I've been begging for that. He's the one that, if you ever watch a WWE event and wonder why the camera changes 97 times, that's Kevin Dunn. He's the one that runs that. So I've been waiting for him to go away for the longest time. So hopefully we'll see that go. Bruce Pritchard could be in trouble because he's been another right-hand man for Vince. You know what? Let's go all crazy. Let's bring Jim Cornette back. No, don't bring Jim Cornette back because I love Jim Cornette just yelling at everything on his podcast. So
and that was one
to
thing.
Keep that.
And that was one thing I just looked up here a second ago because I couldn't remember how old he was. He's only 56, so I mean he's still got. Yeah, I mean if you're in Vince McMahon years, I mean you still got 20 plus years left.
That's just how much he wants to do it.
Yeah. So,
all right, let us not forget SummerSlam is the Saturday. I think we talked about it before, but what are your thoughts on Saturday pay-per-views or premium live events? Sorry.
It's been kind of interesting. I like it, but I don't like it. It's like gotten invited to go and do a birthday party for our boy. I have to shout this out really quick as I thought about it. Fan of the show, and we've talked about him. We've had him on the show. Dimitri Morales, his birthday, he's turning 19 years old. And he's got a big thing going on this weekend and being invited to go do that. So, I mean, and you're dealing with MMA and all that. So it's kind of hard because I've kind of gotten into MMA stuff. I'm wanting to go watch it more. So for me, everything's on Peacock now. So I might, hold off, and then you don't stay on social media, but then you could spend the early part of Sunday morning watching it. So
I like it personally because I work Saturday night and it can get really slow. So having that on helps me get through my work. So I'm all for it. Let's go through the card. Let's run through some quick predictions here. Possibly the match of the night. Seth freaking Rollins. Yes, that is his official title. So you have to say freaking. It's a rule. Seth freaking Rollins versus Riddle. But by the way, one thing I hope Triple H can change. Can we get people's first names to come back, please? Can we get Matt Riddle back and Austin Theory back, please? Please?
Yeah. I hate not having.
Who do you got? Seth Rollins or Riddle?
I'm going to go with the the young guy. Give me Riddle. I mean, I love the storyline. I'm missing the storyline with him and Randy Orton. I
Mhm.
mean, what Randy brought to him and where that whole thing is, you could feel how the fans were like loving it. Uh, I just like what this kid is. He's goofy, but I think I think he can do it. But it'll be interesting.
It's gonna be an interesting way they book it because Riddle was stomped into the steel stairs last night. So
Oh,
usually that
don't drop that because I haven't watched last night's yet.
well you can miss the last 10 seconds. Um, so usually that means Riddle is going to win at SummerSlam and get that back. But I do think Rollins is going to be a title contender, and they want to keep him strong for when Cody Rhodes comes back from his torn pec. So I'm going to go with Seth freaking Rollins to win that match. How about Logan Paul versus The Miz?
Yeah, I think I know I'm going to upset the wife because she loves watching the Miz and Mrs. But I mean, you just signed Logan Paul to a multi-year deal. Let him come in and whoop up on him after everything that went down with WrestleMania.
I'm with you. Logan Paul is going to win that match. He looked really good at WrestleMania for the little bit of training he had. He's been training since. The Miz is a great worker as well. This could be an interesting match as far as quality goes. But I do think Logan Paul gets the win. And I agree with Robert Taylor. I won't say it, and Robert, you don't have to wait long for this promo. But Roman had a fantastic promo. And Robert Taylor is also with us with Logan Paul. I am not team Logan Paul, but I think he'll win that match. How about Pat McAfee and Happy Corbin? One of my favorite storylines going on SmackDown right now.
As much as I want to say Pat, I want to say Pat. I love listening to what he has to say sports wise and even in the commentary booth, talking there at the table. I love that. But I think Happy Corbin is making a push. They've got to get him back into fighting against somebody else. With the turn what he did with Madcap and all that, trying to get him ready. I think Corbin could easily take a turn and go towards be a champion. I'm saying go towards the Intercontinental
Yeah.
Championship. I think that would be a good spot for him.
I think Corbin is highly underrated. I know a lot of people absolutely hate him, but he's went out there and done his job no matter what weird ass gimmick that they've made him do. I loved Sad Corbin when he had lost all his money and was coming out there with like ketchup on his shirt. I thought that character was hilarious and he played it perfectly. But as far as the way they've been booking Corbin, he wins these matches because he's just out there to piss people off and make them go, well, he's horrible. And he'll probably win this match. McAfee had that great moment at WrestleMania. I don't think he'll get the win here and they can build to something else. By the way, and Pat McAfee is so worried about the new Ken doll stealing his look. So he's going to be distracted. I don't know. But no, I'll go with Corbin. How about the no DQ match between the Mysterios and the Judgment Day? I honestly feel like this got changed a little bit because Edge was supposed to come back this Monday and they decided to hold off on that for now. I still think that young Mysterio is going to join the Judgment Day. They were teasing it and they went, oh, this is not how we have you join. And then they did stuff on Monday that I won't spoil for Robert.
Well, yeah, I know that Monday was
Yes.
they did the 20-year was supposed to have done the 23rd year for
the 20-year
Ray last night. So
they have completely ruined the Judgment Day. I agree with them losing Edge, but I think the Judgment Day gets the win here.
Yeah,
and Dominic joins them.
I think that ends up happening eventually. I just thought, with it being 20 years, I think they keep it with Ray, but I'm a huge Finn Balor fan. I love what Finn Balor does. And so Damian Priest is a great character. I loved him more when that first character he came out with. So it'll be interesting once Rhea Ripley gets back with that group too.
She's back.
So I did not.
You gotta watch your shit before you get on this show, sir.
Listen, it was kind of hard with being with
I know you
guys graduation and had stuff going this today. So it's
by the way, I haven't watched all of. I just watched YouTube clips. That's all. I can't do 3 hours of that show. United States Championship. Bobby Lashley defending his title against Theory. Theory with the Money in the Bank briefcase. I think he's going to play a role with the main event. So Bobby Lashley's going to get this win because that's how it always works.
Yeah, I like Bobby Lashley. Love the fact that he's now not a heel and he's turned more babyface, and everybody loves him right now. I think that's where the win goes.
And the rematch from the best match at Money in the Bank. You get the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship match between the Usos and the Street Profits. And because it's in Nashville, I guess, Jeff Jarrett is your special referee while he takes a break from preparing for Ric Flair's final match he promises this time. Have you seen any of that stuff with Ric Flair?
No.
I forget what promotion they're doing it for, but they are promoting Ric Flair's final match, and it is Jay Lethal, who does a fantastic Ric Flair impression, and Jeff Jarrett taking on Ric Flair and, what is he now? He was Andrade in WWE. I forget what he is in AEW, but anyway, he's the new husband to Charlotte Flair. So the new son-in-law for Ric Flair. So they're doing that match, even though Ric Flair is 102 years old. Anyways, Usos and Street Profits. Give me the Street Profits. They finally get the titles off the Usos.
Yeah, I think the Street Profits win this one. I think it's going to be kind of the start of maybe the change of the bloodline with all the titles.
Raw Women's Championship, Bianca Belair versus Becky Lynch. Rematch from last year's SummerSlam where Becky Lynch returned and won in 10 seconds. Rematch of one of the best WrestleMania matches this year where Bianca Belair won. I think Becky Lynch gets the win and takes the title.
I'm going to say Bianca. The only reason I say Bianca is I love with what they're doing with Becky Lynch's storyline right now. She feels like she is owed everything and she's all over the place and kind of panicky all the time. I love what she is doing with that storyline right now. I think they keep it going as that she feels cheated again. So
I know Becky Lynch wins with the Stompy Stomp. If you don't know what that reference is, go watch Up, Up, Down, Down. She's hilarious on there. SmackDown Women's Championship. Liv Morgan, who just won the title, cashing in the Money in the Bank at Money in the Bank, taking on Ronda Rousey. Who do you got?
I follow her on Twitter. Give me Liv Morgan. Her story is so good right now as where she's come and how hard she worked. I like what she does. So give me Liv.
They're pushing that super underdog gimmick too much for me not to take Liv Morgan here to win in some kind of a fluky way. I'm still hoping they turn Ronda Rousey as a bad guy. I think she would be way better off going out there and just being that evil heel with a mouthpiece, having a Paul Heyman or somebody like talk for her because her promos are horrible. But having her go out there and just beat people up and being the bad guy, I think would suit her better. So I think Liv Morgan wins in a fluky fashion and Ronda Rousey loses it and then injures Liv Morgan after the match is my guess. And then your big main event that almost wasn't because Brock Lesnar left before SmackDown and then came back at the end of SmackDown because somebody told him how many zeros was on his check and reminded him how much money he was making for this appearance. But the undisputed WWE Universal title last man standing match. They promised this the last time between these two because we've seen it 700 times in the last 4 years. But Roman Reigns, who has held the title for nearly 700 days or so, almost 800 days, somewhere in there, against Brock Lesnar. Who do you got?
God, I'm so tired of listening to his stuff. I want to go. I'm going to go Brock Lesnar.
Acknowledge him, sir.
No, I don't want to acknowledge him. This storyline is getting very, very old. And for me, dude, I want to see him wrestle. I want to see Roman wrestle. And right now he's not doing it. I think get him out of the titles. Get the titles out of his hand and make him start doing some stuff.
He won't. He is doing part-time work now. He's doing a lot of family time. Yeah. And that's not going to change at all. I'm going to take Roman Reigns to win, though I did hear on a call-in show an idea that I think is hilarious, and I kind of want to see it happen. This is a last man standing match, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you win by your opponent not being able to stand by the count of 10. There's a man that has a Money in the Bank briefcase, in theory. We saw this before in a Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar match at WrestleMania where Seth Rollins came out, made it a triple threat, did the old stompy stomp, and won the title. But this is a last man standing match. So could you imagine Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar doing some ridiculous over-the-top move that takes them both out of the equation and they're both out? And then Theory comes in and cashes his money in the bank and just stands there for 10 seconds and wins the title. Never has to do a move, doesn't have to pin anybody, just stands there. And he's your new champion.
Yeah, be kind of.
I'm kind of for it because I think that would be hilarious. The crowd would go ballistic.
I think I'm still bitter with when Roman fought Kevin Owens. I still thought Kevin got screwed out of that pins fall anywhere. Kind of. I don't know. There's just something about him I just don't.
Acknowledge Roman Reigns. You like his promo and you finally watch Raw.
I'll be doing it here shortly.
We will quickly go through the sports that do not get enough airtime because we've run long, so they won't get enough airtime on this show either. But first, Aussie rules football. Richmond and Fremantle ended in a draw somehow.
That was...
What a mess. That last 2 minutes is a joke.
That was crazy. Even the last 8 minutes. I watched the last 11 minutes being tied and back and forth, and then you get a mark, and
if you complete a mark in Aussie rules football, you get 30 seconds to kick the ball, and the guy held it too long and couldn't get a kickoff when the game is tied. And then they get another mark, which can hold to go after the siren. We'll talk about that in another game earlier in the same week. And he just runs. He does not set up the mark. I understand it. Just a horrible finish to that game. Hawthorn destroys North Melbourne. They're up nearly 50 points after the first quarter. That was enough for them to hold on to the win. I think that's 3 in a row for Hawthorn. I have stopped keeping count because they are definitely out of finals contention by any means, but they've been playing well the last couple weeks. Sydney defeats Adelaide 118-85. Geelong gets past Port Adelaide 106-94. Great second quarter for your team, sir.
Oh, unbelievable second quarter. Going at 38-8, but then third quarter they just come out flat and get outscored 50-9. So that was kind of crazy with that one. So
Brisbane defeats Gold Coast 110-93. Western, as Eric was all excited, defeats Melbourne. That's big for you guys. They win that one 110-100. That was a great game. I watched a lot of that one. And Collingwood came back to beat Essendon 80-76 on a kick after the siren. What a moment. How he made that mark, I still don't know. I've watched that play 20 times. One of the better catches you'll see in any sport.
I think it has to be in contention for Mark of the Year. So,
but Western does move up to that 8th spot. 8 teams make the postseason or the finals, as they say. Geelong right now in that top spot. A full game ahead of everyone else. We're getting down to it, running out of time here. But your games on TV, first Friday at 3:10 a.m. Fremantle versus Melbourne. That's on FS2. 2:25 a.m. on Saturday is Geelong versus Western. You and Eric need to make a wager before that one. And 11:40 p.m. on Saturday, Essendon will take on North Melbourne. You don't need to watch that game. No. If you've never watched Aussie Rules football, do not make that your first game. Also, my Hawks play St. Kilda. And I know Eric will be rooting for my Hawks to try to get a little bit of a gap to hold on to that 8th spot. Move on to NASCAR. I'm really sad we have not given ourselves enough time here at the end of the show because craziness happened there as well. Denny Hamlin finished first. Kyle Busch finished second. Chase Elliott finishes third. But when you look at the record books, Chase Elliott is your winner, as Hamlin and Busch both get disqualified for a piece of tape in front of this front fascia, in front of the left front and right front wheel openings, which kind of messes with the arrow going through the car, which messes with the downforce, which some sort of car mumbo jumbo that I will never understand. But either way, they did a no-no. And for the first time since 1960, a winner of a NASCAR race was disqualified, and it's the first time ever the top 2 were disqualified. Chase Elliott's not celebrating, but he's going to take the 5 playoff points without question. He, I believe, is the first NASCAR driver ever to win a race and never lead a lap. There's been several times where the winner only led the last lap, but Chase Elliott never led a lap and wins the race. Front Row Motorsports and Michael McDowell were fined $100,000 and lost 100 points because of illegal body modifications as well. And they will be at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course this week. What do you got in golf?
Quick with golf, Tony Finau comes back after being in third place to win on Sunday at the 3M in Blaine, Minnesota. For me, the biggest thing, and I'll say this to you, must be nice to play almost bogey-free golf. He only has 3 bogeys.
I would have no idea.
All weekend, 2 of which came on Sunday, but to have 3 bogeys, crazy.
Again, you and I went golfing last week, and I went 4 over if you play bogey golf.
Yeah, there you go.
If you count bogeys as pars, I was still 4 over par.
Yeah, it was crazy. This week, the Rocket Mortgage Classic is a big tournament. Our friend Joel Damon will be playing. Tee times start a little bit earlier this week for if you're in the Pacific time zone listening. Tee times start at 3:45 in the morning. So go figure out.
If you wake up for the early tee times on Friday, check out the Aussie Rules football game.
There you go.
Going on at the same time.
Like I said, Joel Damon is playing in this one. He is scheduled to tee off at 9:45 our time. And Randy looked, he is a featured group on ESPN Plus. So make sure you look. He is going to be playing golf on Thursday and Friday with Luke List and his favorite buddy, Max Homa. So be interesting there. And yeah, exactly.
Don't care about Live Tour. I don't know what their power move is. I don't care. Well, actually, I don't know. What was the power move? Because I haven't seen it. Do you know?
I have not followed Live the last 2 weeks. So I've had so much other going that Live was not.
And before we finish this off with the last quick part of the Who Am I, XFL coming to Seattle. Do you care?
Yeah. It's
again, they got to make it. They got to make it their second season before I even notice.
That's kind of where I was at.
But again, hello to the USFL. You do exist to me now. So we'll see you in the spring. All right. Give us the last little bit of the Who Am I, and I'll see if I can somehow get this.
All right. The last couple clues I gave you, he was a Heisman Trophy winner and was not drafted in the top 5. He played for 17 years, 2 for 2 organizations, 1 for 1 year, 1 for 16 years. He was a 9-time Pro Bowler.
Are you going to tell me what teams? Okay.
Here we go. I caught almost 1,100 passes.
Okay.
Almost 15,000 yards receiving. Okay. And had 100 touchdowns in the top. And I am in.
Oh, I did know about the stats and stuff. Okay.
And I am in the top 10 receivers of all time in receiving yards. Do you have
told me for who? You're not going to tell me who this person played for, even for college?
Nope. Because if I told you, it'd be way too easy. That's the bad part. Sorry.
I don't know. Maybe I don't. If I played for 2 teams, 1 for 1 year.
All right. It's 7:59. I will give you a hint. He finished his career for 1 year with Tampa Bay. He played 16 in 2 different cities, but the same organization.
So who switched? So we're talking like in the 90s he probably played, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I left that one out. He made the all 90s pro team.
I got nothing. Timmy Brown. See, if you would have just said Raiders, you gotta help a man out over here.
If I said Notre Dame, it would have like really gotten easy, and
that's fine too. Then I can narrow down. You just he was the only high school with 2 Heisman winners. I don't know what high school he went to.
That was a crazy thing reading that, and I have to share that with you really quick before we get off the air.
Okay.
He shares. This high school has only produced 2 Heisman Trophy. The only place to do that was in Woodrow Wilson High School in Dallas, Texas. The other person that won the Heisman Trophy was Davy O'Brien in 1938. But to be in the same high school and have a Heisman Trophy winner, that's just crazy.
Very, very crazy. Good one. You finally got me. That's because you just refused to let me know teams, and that's where I know people from. Like, I can't sit there and list off. Oh, he had 100 reception or 100 receiving touchdowns. Okay, So it has to be this. I got no teams. You gotta help a man out.
That's what kind of why I went caught.
At least on the final group. I gotta know teams. That's my request. But that's it.
Okay.
We made it through 92 episodes. Eric says he's close. I wasn't even. I had no clue. If I didn't have a team, I didn't even know where to get my brain to start going through the little bit of catalog I even still have left in this dome. But I appreciate you guys all for hanging out. Thanks for Eric and Robert for commenting throughout the show. Thanks, Haley, for getting in here as well. Lois also popping back in as well. Denny Grubb hopped in for a second. Mike Berlin made a couple comments. That was a new name that I had not seen before. So appreciate all of you for commenting. And if you are watching this after the fact, thanks for watching at that point too. Again, we'll see about doing a podcast version. So it'll be an easier to consume after the fact. But until then, we are done with this. So we will see you next week when we talk about all of the deals that happened at the trade deadline. But until then, that's Robert Hagan. I'm Randy Isbell, and we are